Wow.
It's true. It just, that's the way it is. But anyway, I am Brandon. I am back with the Galactic Dads podcast, and today I am very luckily joined by two esteemed comic book individuals. One of them's even an Eisner award-winning artist. And of course, if you are a listener of the show, you're already familiar with the great work that Zack Kaplan has produced from our earlier interview about Join the Future. So I will stop talking because we have so much to say or ask these fine gentlemen with the release of the new book, Mindset, from Vault Comics. And I'm just going to jump into it. I got the review of it, an early look, and it is first off, glorious. It's just a beautiful to look at. It's the type of book that, for me as a reader, I'm typically more of a superhero American comics kind of guy. And those are just the things that I'm drawn to. But once you get a good look at even the cover of Mindset, you're like kind of instantly drawn into one, this is beautiful, almost cinematic in quality. And then two is like, should I be reading this on my phone or tablet? I think is the very next question. So I just want to jump right into it. Zach, could you give us kind of an overall synopsis or your quick pitch on what is Mindset?
Mindset is a dark sci-fi techno thriller coming out June 29th from Vault Comics with myself. John is the artist and colorist, and Hassan Otsmain Elhau is the letterer. Tim Daniel did the design, and the story is about four grad students that are geeky nobodies, and they accidentally discover mind control that is a light and sound combination of light and sound that can control people's minds. And they decided to do something a little different with it. They put it in an app, a meditation app, in the hopes that they will help the world rid themselves of technological addiction and the manipulation that's going on by certain apps and platforms these days. And it has a different effect. Their Mindset app becomes a cult following of over 1 billion users, and they suddenly start to realize that they may be not helping people but controlling them. And it's a really dynamic David Fincher-esque thriller. We open with Ben in police custody being interrogated for a murder that it seems that he committed, and it goes from there. And it's exciting thriller, thought-provoking content, and we're really excited to share it with readers.
It is very, very thought-provoking, and you're right. It does have that David Fincher-esque feel. For those who aren't immediately familiar with who that is, that's the director of one of my personal favorite films. I don't know what this says about me, but Fight Club, and also Gone Girl and Aliens 3, by the way, in case anybody forgets that, Jim.
And Social Network.
Yeah. I mean, what better type of movie could there be to relate to this book, right?
Yeah.
So it does sound like you were a little bit influenced, if you will, by maybe even your own use of social media or some recent things that have come out lately about, tech companies and whether they knowingly or unknowingly are negatively affecting the users. Can you tell me, did you get the idea for this book like years ago, or is this something that you kind of had an inkling of an idea for and they're like, oh no, this is perfect, like now's the time?
I think I first came up with this idea a few years back, but obviously I've been kind of honing it as writers often do. An idea comes to you, but before you really flesh it out, I could see the writing on the wall and feel my daily habits being shifted and changed in terms of my engagement with social media and apps and my device, my smartphone, suddenly telling me when I should be clicking on things with notifications and updates and doom scrolling, and my relationship with my peers or strangers online, this kind of who's influencing who more game that we all get sucked into playing. And I think it all just created this perfect storm of of realizing that our relationship with technology is changing really fast and perhaps not in the way that we want. And there's this, the technology, the devices are controlling us. So it really felt like a great allegory for the sci-fi device of mind control, which I think we've seen, again and again in movies and TV and comics, but I'm not sure if we've seen it in this way. Certainly I write what I want to see. And so that was my, I was excited to kind of explore our relationship with technology as mind control. And so this story acts as an allegory for that. And I think we're all doom scrolling at night, and we say goodnight to our loved one, and then we actually say goodnight to our phone last. So I think it's a really interesting thing that's going on with our relationship with technology right now. It couldn't be more timely.
Yeah, it really, I'm sure listeners are going to be excited to get their hands on this book and see what I'm about to reference. But as you read through the first issue, it really does ask a question really quick of who's mind controlling who? Like, am I picking up this phone because I want to? Am I watching these things, reading these things, eating, buying, reading these specific articles and things because I want to, or because I've been conditioned and my mindset has changed to want to read these things? So I think it's a really excellent kind of, maybe modern day problem to explore through this great kind of thriller story that you guys are telling.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. We all kind of know the answer though, right? We all know that we're being conditioned. So it's more about, are you aware of the truth, and are you thinking about the truth, or have you pushed the truth aside? And yeah, it's just really, it's really fertile territory. And I think we're hoping to make a comic that stands out, that kind of in the vein. There's some great stuff doing this right now, Department of Truth and Nice House on the Lake, the kind of stories that really stay with readers. And we're hoping to kind of follow in that footstep. But that was what I was drawn to collaborate with John, because he has this really amazing style that stands out and has layers. I think we're trying to create a story that is asking many questions at the same time. So you're watching this thriller unfold, what's happened. You're watching this character story and this business drama. There's a lot of different narrative aspects going on as these guys discover mind control and put it in the app and build their business, and then obviously hit some complications. But in addition to that, there's, like you said, there's these questions being shared through Ben's narration as a kind of a narrator. We're only getting his view of it, and so with his subjective experience and with these layers of duality, we really tried to bring all of that with the artwork and just make something that really elevates the comics medium. So yeah.
Well, I think you guys are making a really good stab at trying to elevate comics. So I have one more question for you, Zach, and I want to ask John something very specifically, but the character of Ben, for listeners, Ben is the main character of this story, and the lens through which we're being, told and experiencing everything that's going on. I was curious at when you have Ben, and he seems like he's very aware that he was being influenced throughout his entire life, well before he picked up a phone. And I thought that the scene, especially where he discusses his parents, and you see kind of how he's a part of their facade that they decide to show on social media, but not really a part of their memories or the memories he's had with them until he buys in to the brand that they are trying to show online. And I was wondering where along the lines you were able to conceive of a character who, even in his real life, did not feel a part of everything until he kind of bought in and decided to present an image of himself, or his own brand, if you will.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's a really interesting character to create and write. And I think that it's very relatable today. And I really kind of identified Ben as having two drives, two objectives simultaneously, which is relatable to us all. I think on the one hand, he's looking at everything that's happening in social media and technology, and he knows that he's being conditioned, and he hates it, and he hates these feelings that he's having of wanting to engage with people in this game of influence, and wanting to be part of this, and the glitz of Facebooks and social media platforms, and this kind of allure that Silicon Valley has in some corners of, especially if you're going to school for engineering and technology and you want to be a part of Silicon Valley. It's a very it's got its own stigmas, and so he kind of hates all these aspects of it, but he wants to be a part of it. He wants to be influential. He doesn't want to be a nobody, and these two things are really at war with each other. And this is something that we touch on with his childhood, that on the one hand, his parents, he comes from, I don't want to give too much away, but he comes from kind of a messed up family, and he's grown up with this idea of put on a facade and be a part of it, or be isolated and alone and hate it, but then be rejected. And it's kind of just about all of us. How are we to engage, in some of these social media platforms that we deem toxic, or we deem full of, hate and full of behavior that we don't like and we don't want to participate in, and yet we desperately want to connect. We want to use these tools and technology to engage with each other, to create, to build. And so you can't, it's not a black and white thing. You really kind of, how do we do that? And I think that's kind of what the book is exploring. What mindset should we have to engage in technology that is trying to control us? What's the right answer? So but Ben is a really fascinating character, ordinary and yet different all at the same time.
Yeah, very true. I think that's a good way to describe him. Somehow familiar, but yet he has this new angle that is very intriguing. And I know that we've been wrapped up in the kind of social media aspect, or the question of mindset, but we can't forget that this, at its core, is a murder mystery. I mean, from panel one, like, it's an exciting murder mystery, and you're just really trying to figure out the whodunit. And actually, looking at that, the first page, and that's the first thing you see is this interrogation scene. I went to ask John, when you were conceiving these, because I'm sure Zack sent you the script. It's a very collaborative process, but when you see these scenes on page in script, how do you go about framing the shot? Because the entire book is the angles of everything. It all feels very cinematic, but also feels new, right? Like, it's very clear that this is the type of work that you're only really going to visually be able to see in a comic book. And I have an example of that, but I wanted to ask you first, how do you visually come up with the concept of what you're working on in this book?
It really depends on the scene, the wider scenes, but also the emotional output of the characters themselves. So in the first issue, one of the main examples of that is the isolation that Ben feels. He's kind of completely isolated throughout. So there'll be different techniques used to emphasize that, like having him literally outside of the panels. And they'll range from being quite in your face and obvious techniques to more subtle ones. But my whole approach for the artwork is one that is very fluid. So it will change and it will shift based not only on what the script is requiring, so the mood and the emotions, but also the looking forward to how those characters are developing and potentially foreshadowing that. So it's this whole holistic approach to the artwork. It's not just taking a panel description and then how I'm going to illustrate that. It's thinking about, well, what is this moment in this character's life, and how has it been influenced by what's led up to that point, and how is it foreshadowing what we know as creators are going to come forwards and is going to come after that. And that's kind of the thing that we're striving for. We're trying to get this this sense of realness through. So with Ben being this kind of nobody, everybody character, that is relatable in a lot of ways because of the complexity of the character study that we're doing. We want this sense that you can connect or empathize with that character, and through that is having these little moments that are quite lifelike, but also projecting in things that are more abstracted for the emotional heightening, but also foreshadowing and adding subtext for what's coming later. So there's so many different layers in that first issue that are giving hints as to the direction of the story, that it's something that you kind of have to unpick quite a lot. So when I'm coming up with it, it's thinking about the bigger picture, but then honing it down into isolated little moments for the emotional impact of that.
Yeah, and I would say that now I feel like I need to go back and just like very finely go through each page and say, what's this telling me about next issue? Issues after that. It's like, it has me excited. Like when we get to issue, 4 or 5, like, am I going to be thinking like, oh, I should have seen that? That was my Fight Club
You
moment.
will. Yeah, you will. Yeah. There are moments coming up. I mean, issue 1 is really just taking you in, but there are going to be issues. It's a 6-issue miniseries. There are going to be issues where people go, oh my God, like I have to go back now and read the whole thing up to here to, was this layer? It's been there, but wait a minute. I didn't see it. So we're really hoping to do something that gives readers that you see that there's a lot of layers going on, and you kind of get to pick which one you're leaning into. And then maybe later down the line, you realize, oh, I want to read this from a different, what about this angle? So yeah, we're hoping to create a real experience and rereadability with it.
Oh, certainly. As we're talking about this now, I'm thinking, I know final order cutoff is May 29th, right? Is that correct? To order Mindset number 1. I know the first issue comes out on June 29th. Again, hit up your local comic shops. You'll be glad you did. But also, I'm now really excited for when Vault puts out the collected, like the whole collection together, so you can sit and read it in one run. Because I feel like it will be I'm going to need to remember this page, or if I don't, you get to this page, you go, oh, that I saw that already. Like it is an experience, a totally immersive experience. Another part about that that's really exciting is I know John touched on it very briefly, but he was talking about the emotion of Ben and also the emotion of everyone else. He was talking about the isolation, which I feel is a pretty good theme for this book as well, besides the question of mindset that we've already previously discussed. But I love the way that the characters, their facial emotions on all of the characters are really well, communicated to the reader. Like sometimes in comics, faces don't always convey what you wish they would or think that they should, just from the limited artist capability. And in this particular story, I feel like there is no limit to the ability to convey emotion. I think John does an incredible job of showing isolation is such a good word for it, but making the reader feel just as outside as Ben does, in the way that all the other characters around him have this distracted apathy almost, because they're so absorbed in everything else they're doing that they don't even take the time to really truly interact with their current surrounding, let alone Ben himself. So I think that that's very good and a tremendously well done job. I did also want to ask John about the use of the panels or the panel walls and breaking through them per se, or doing different things than a comic book reader is normally accustomed to. When you read a comic, everything stays within the panels. You get your splash page, but the page prior doesn't literally bleed into it, knock through the panel to bring you into this beautiful splash page, which I like the term splash page for the page I'm talking about. I think readers will understand when they see it.
That's the first time I've even thought about that connection between.
Oh, you've got to be kidding me! Like it's so good. I was like, this is a well
splash
very
page.
well executed. Yeah, very well executed. I see what they're doing here, and now I realize that maybe you didn't even know you were influenced.
Just making a splash.
Yeah, there you go. But as far as some of those decisions to move the characters out of the normal constraints of the panels and stuff, especially there's a up looking through the water kind of scene, which was so good. I mean, is just it's everything I imagine that on the script you probably, Zach, wrote. And then when you got the image back and like the different angle perspective on it, I'm sure was a surprise.
Yeah, I mean, let's talk about it for just a second to give you guys an understanding. I think that, I mean, the scene is Ben is at a party and he's been schmoozing and feeling obviously putting up that facade. And then he takes a moment to come out and sit on the diving board and have a kind of an introspective feeling, a depression and isolation and loss of identity and kind of what am I doing? And, you know, what do I, and he's really exploring himself. And so you've got this juxtaposition. I knew I wanted, in the script, I wrote that Ben is looking at himself. So you see him in the house and you see these different, through the windows, these different moments that he's looking at it himself. I can't remember if I think that then John took this moment on the diving board and really created this duality across the page where Ben is also looking at himself from above and below. This page has been out on social media, but one side of the double page spread, Ben is on the diving board and you're seeing him from behind, but then he's looking at himself from underneath the water, and it's just a really surreal. It's surreal, and it's kind of really, I don't know, John, you can talk more about it, but it's a breathtaking shot.
I think with that page especially, because there's lots of moments of contemplation throughout that first issue and throughout the series itself, but I think that one is a key moment of contemplation in that first issue. So I think when you are sat and being introspective and contemplating, then the thoughts do bleed into one another, and it's you kind of let the thoughts go in their own direction. So for that moment, then I was talking earlier about that fluidity of the artwork, then what better way to do that than with a scene with water? And I like the kind of mirroring that you have of Ben walking through the scene and then him kind of looking at himself and then like in different angles. I thought it was kind of a good way to kind of portray that moment. Also the looking up from the water. I love Sunset Boulevard and the start of Sunset Boulevard when you're looking up from the pool. Like, of course, that's going to be a little influence in it. But yeah, from your earlier question, we're talking about the use of the panel borders and breaking them. That's really important for me. And I think so with this first issue early on, you have that moment where it's kind of bursting through, which is really intense in your face, but that's setting the precedent that this story is not something that is, I suppose, standardized like you might expect for like stereotypically like normal comics, I guess. And it is something that is forcing you to think about it differently. And I wanted to set that right from the start with that moment. And then the same thing repeats itself, but in much subtler ways because it's already been established from the start. So if you're looking at the work and the characters themselves are outside of the box and they're looking in, and hopefully that prompts some introspection or reflection from the reader, thinking about not only what they're seeing, but also the context that these characters are existing in. And a lot of that is their relationship with technology and the relationships with each other. So you actually said it earlier that you were kind of being reflective about that first issue, which is great because that's our intentions. And that's my intention with the artwork, is you take a step back and you think about what you're seeing. And then through that, you think about your own context and the world around you. Also, this is actually, you give me a lot of first thoughts here with the splash page, but also the thought of the difference between single issues and the collection. That's actually interesting because one of the main things that I'm keen for, like I said, is this element of reflection. So having that month-long period is in some ways quite interesting because you can think and digest about what you've read for a long time. But it'll be a different experience with the collection as well. We do want it to have this rereadability and something you go back and you kind of think about and you kind of reread and you have different perspectives about. But yeah, that's an interesting thought that you've kind of put into my head now. And I quite like it. I like that it's,
good.
If you pick up the singles, it's going to be a completely different experience than if you read it in trade. So do both.
I'm hoping I would. In all, if you're listening to this, I actually think that not every comic experience, some comic experiences I pick up monthly, some comic experiences I wait for the trade. I really do think that this is the type of experience that benefits from month to month, in the sense that you're getting this experience and you're sharing it with the comics community if you have one, or your shop, or and I think that delay does have some added value in terms of you get to reflect on it. I think it will hold up and be a fantastic read all collected for sure. But each issue is a substantial episodic experience that I think will be enjoyed in that way.
In fact, actually thinking about it, like Zach, we spoke about that want for people to talk about what they've read, and that's I was thinking about it the other day, like when Twin Peaks first came out, and everybody was like, "Oh my god, who killed Laura Palmer? Like, what happened this episode? That one was really weird." I was like, "Oh my god, maybe that's going to be like Mindset." Huge wishful thinking, but like I think that anticipation for what comes next is actually a huge part of mystery.
For sure.
I think that's going to be a big factor. I think, hopefully.
Yeah, I agree.
Now, I would agree with what you guys said, and I didn't think it was all that profound when I was thinking back about it. But I am being reflective on the issue, one that I read already, and it's kind of hard not to. Like, this is the book, like, we're all used to kind of like popcorn fare and things that you can just consume, enjoy, be entertained for that amount of time, and then just let it go, almost forgettable in a way. I think the very nature of this book, from the concept to the story that you get, the art that you see in the colors, and even the letters, like, you're making a decision on how you're reading this book on every page. Like, it's not something that you almost feel natural doing. Like, there's thought involved in which text box am I going to next. I mean, it's not difficult, but it's just different enough that you're kind of more aware that you're making decisions while you're reading this book. And in that way, along with, again, the colors, which forgive me, I didn't quite catch the colorist name or the letterer, but please, let's give them credit, because they
John,
did great work.
that's the amazing thing. John is the colorist.
Oh, really?
The whole
My God.
kit and caboodle. Yeah, John is the full interior artist, from the inks all the way through to the entire color spread. Hassan Otsman Elhau, who's an amazing letterer, is doing the letterers, all the lettering, and he has a very unique style. But that's the incredible thing about this book, is it's a artist and colorist all as one department.
You're doing some serious heavy lifting, John. That is very impressive.
Yeah, it's a lot. But no, I think for me, I love coloring other people's stuff. Like, that's fun. But for me, like, the color is so important, especially if we're talking about emotions. That's how you communicate
you can
emotions
feel it
through color theory.
You can feel it in this book for sure.
Yeah. So everything from start to finish is I'm a control freak. I need to have that control.
It's just the vision. That's all it is.
Yeah, it is.
That's it, right? Well, that's excellent. And for you, Zach, how great is it to be able to collaborate with somebody who has that kind of range and almost total control over how your story looks once it comes out of your head?
It's been a great collaborative experience. I mean, we've talked about it. You never know what you're going to experience. I was drawn to John's work first when I saw that he had done the coloring in blue and green, which won him the Eisner, and I guess digital art. And then I saw that he had a fine arts background and he had done short comics and done this breadth of interesting work from murals to paintings and just really risk-taking stuff. And I think that was what drew me to his work, was that, I knew that Mindset would benefit from an artist that wanted to take risks and wanted to play with deconstructionism. And, John has done that. And I love the comics medium. And I'm definitely at a point in my career where I want to play and I want to take risks. I've done a few books. And so I want to try to really play with every layer of the craft. And John shares that enthusiasm for, really getting in the weeds on how to bring the best narrative at every single panel. And so it's been a great experience. The book has benefited from it immensely. We've had great assistance from Adrian and Vault Comics, and Hassan is wonky in terms of the comics medium. So it's really been a great creative process.
Yeah, you can tell that there's this is a different book when you pick it up, when you read it from start to finish. And from the story, the concept, the characters, the dialogue, I think that's something that we definitely can't gloss over. The interactions between these characters stands out, let alone with the inner monologue that you see from Ben, which sometimes, as that moves the story forward, you're kind of just caught on just reading and kind of sympathizing with where he's at, which is fantastic. And then, of course, you turn the page and you have, the art there that kind of keeps drawing your eye, the lettering, as I said, and of course, the colors, they just pop and really draw you into key points. So the whole feeling of the experience of reading this book is a little different in a very good way.
Thank you.
So I definitely want to congratulate you guys on that. And I also want to encourage everyone listening to go ahead and go order that book as fast as you can from your local comic shop, because you'll probably be hooked. You'll end up thinking about this book for a little bit after you have read it. And I would encourage all of you who do read it to reach out to these two gentlemen, oddly enough, on their social media channels. So if you guys would love to plug those, that would be wonderful.
Yes, definitely divorce yourself from technological manipulation, except to connect with your favorite comic creators. We'd love to hear what people think once you get your hands on it, or if you have any burning questions as we're leading up to the book. I'm on all platforms at Zack Kaps, and the website Zack Kaps as well.
Very good.
Yeah, likewise, I'm John J. Pearson on Twitter, Instagram, and my website is johnjpearson.co.uk. But yeah, get in touch. Always love to chat about stuff. Maybe Zach, we should set up like a PO box so people can give us physical mail just in case they read it and they're like,
you guys go analog.
Phones, like
that's not a bad idea.
And for those of you, John just mentioned it, but on his social media, he does have links to even possibly get commissions and stuff done. I would highly encourage you guys to check out that link too, because his work is quite lovely to look at. And Zach mentioned it earlier. It's fine art. That's stuff that you would be proud to have on your wall somewhere. So definitely check that out.
Before we go,
on your wall as well.
I'll tell you, there's a Vault is doing a amazing giveaway competition. You can go to it's on Twitter. It's a Vault Mindset giveaway. But there's a number of ways to enter and participate. And the grand prize is insane. John is going to be at New York Comic Con, and he's doing a large format. I don't know how big it's going to be, but it's going to be big. And he's going to be painting for the whole freaking con. The winner's face in the fashion of the Mindset cover number 1, where Ben is looking at his phone and he's having his mind blown. So you could have a recreation of the cover with you having your mind blown as the grand prize. And there are all these additional prizes. I think original artwork from Mindset and but all the cover packages. I
bundle,
mean, the
yeah.
covers we just dropped the covers yesterday. I mean, just a murderer's
Yeah.
row of amazing cover artists, from David Mack to Christian Ward, Jacob Phillips, Christian, Danny, Tom Muller. It just is incredible. So that giveaway contest is on Vault's website, and one of the ways to enter is to pre-order the book. So if you're going to order it anyway, then you can automatically get in. Maybe you win, and John recreates you. So.
And
Yeah.
you can order the book, pre-order directly through Vault's website. Isn't that correct?
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
that's true.
Yeah. Vault Comics, by the way, are some of our favorite publishing, one of our favorite publishing companies, and especially because Damien and Adrian are awesome.
They're amazing.
So we typically love all the stuff that they publish, and almost as much as we love being able to talk to you guys about the book. This has been awesome.
Thanks for having us, Brandon.
Yeah.
Really appreciate
Yeah,
it.
yeah, loved
I
it.
appreciate you guys taking the time out. I know you're busy doing almost like a press junket right before this book comes out.
I'm not too busy. Don't worry. We're good.
Yeah, never too busy to chat. It's
Yeah.
it's always a pleasure.
I love it. Well, I thank you guys very much. And be sure everyone to check out the socials. We'll link to the Vault giveaway link, just so you guys get that chance to maybe win some really cool stuff and see even more awesome stuff that these guys have created in the past, because it's all really good.
Thank you, Brandon.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you guys very much. Stick around, guys. We will be back with more.